Dr. K, why are we so different to our own mind? Shouldn't our mind be nice to us? No, our mind should not be nice to us. This is a good question. Someone's asking, shouldn't our mind be nice to us? No. What? So chat, let's do a little bit of Socratic teaching, okay? You guys are going to get like Professor Kanoja today instead of Dr. K. What is our mind designed for? Absolutely. Good job. Chat has learned a lot. It is for survival. It is evolved to survive, not to make you feel happy, right? So if we think about some of these things like ego, negative emotion, even stuff like shame, like think about this for a second. There's a video on Dr. K's guides about why we have negative emotions. It's like one of my favorite videos. Because like just think about this, chat. Why the hell do we have the experience of shame and sadness and fear? Like they're just negative. They make us feel like crap. So this is conserved across the human race. Every single human out there is capable of feeling anger, sadness, fear, and shame. Why? Right? Like just like understand this. This is important. So the reason we have negative emotions is because they're helpful from an evolutionary standpoint. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. Right? It's not even like 50-50. It's not like, brown hair or blonde hair. It's like there's a variance in the population because blonde hair is not necessarily better than brown hair. But there is no variance in the population about the experience of negative emotions. So negative emotions absolutely serve a function. And at the end of the day, you can say survival. But if you kind of think about, like on a day-to-day basis, like, what is the purpose of fear? Like fear is to protect you. What is the purpose of anger? Anger is to like help you stake out your territory and like not be, taken advantage of by other people. Like those are necessary emotions. And so like anxiety, like what is the purpose of anxiety? Like anxiety forewarns us of danger. If we didn't have anxiety, we wouldn't, like anxiety is just our predictive capacity and our ability to plan for like negative scenarios in the future, right? It's like anxiety is the reason that we're able to like store food for the winter. Like those circuits are linked. Should we prioritize survival or happiness? Survival first, happiness second. So remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So this is what we sort of discover, and this is part of the reason. So if we want to talk about why is mental illness getting worse, it's because I think we've, as a society, met a lot of our basic needs. So self-actualization and finding purpose and meaning is like more of an issue now. Like I still remember talking to my grandmother about when she was growing up, like India had rationing, right? It was like under British colonial rule. And basically like, it doesn't matter how much money you had, like there wasn't enough flour or sugar to be bought. There was no such thing as a grocery store. There was like a dispensary where you go once a week and you get a certain amount of thing. And if you run out of flour, you're out of flour until next week. You're not going to get any more. There's nowhere to buy it. It just doesn't exist. And self-actualization is like not that important in that situation. Survival is important. And what we sort of discovered as the human race gets better, we start to become like more mentally unsatisfied, which is not a bad thing. It's just part of the process. So even if you look at Buddha, like there's a reason why, if you look at all of the people, not all, but the majority of people who started religions in the East, they're all kings. So like, it's kind of interesting because if you look at the Indian subcontinent, right? So like India gave us Buddha, it gave us Ram, it gave us Krishna, it gave us all these like deities from this like karmic set of religions. And in India, there used to be a caste system, or there still is a caste system, sort of. And the top caste were the Brahmins, who were the closest to God, the teachers of meditation and the most spiritual. And all of the enlightened figures from India are not Brahmins. They're Kshatriyas, the noble caste, the warrior caste. They were kings. So then it begs the question, why don't Brahmins get enlightened? And why do the Kshatriyas, why do the students get enlightened, but the teachers don't? There's a really simple answer for it. It's because the Brahmins lived in poverty and the Kshatriyas lived in luxury. So there's always a seed of like desire in the mind of a Brahmin who takes a vow of poverty, right? They're not allowed to earn. What they do is they live off of the donations of other people. And so the Kshatriyas are the ones that get enlightened because, like, if you kind of think about it, if your mind is unhappy, what does your mind tell you? It tells you, if you had this, you would be happy. If I had a girlfriend, I'd be happy. If I had a boyfriend, I'd be happy. If I had more money, I'd be happy. If I had, the right video card, I'd be happy. If I had a PS5, I'd be happy. If all of these things happened, I would be happy. And so what happened with the nobles is, like, they got all those things. And they, like, climbed the hedonistic treadmill for a while, and they sort of, like, reached the top, and they're like, wait, I'm still not happy? Now what? Buddha was loved, respected, revered, powerful, and wealthy. And then he woke up one day, and he was like, I'm unhappy. And so all that's left is spirituality, right? So this is when people are saying all kinds of stuff, like if I had a GTX or RTX 3090 or whatever. And then other people like, if anime was real, I'd be happy. No, you wouldn't. You'd be happy for a time, and then you'd become just as unhappy as the people in the animes. Are you saying that spirituality is required for us humans to be happy? That's been my experience, right? So, like, I think so. I mean, y'all are welcome to disagree. I have read The Power of Now. Do I recommend it? Sort of. So I think that, like, reading a book is never a bad thing. But I don't think that, I think it's good. Like, you should read books on spirituality and meditation. And like, Power of Now is Eckhart Tolle, right? So I think he's got a lot to offer. I personally find a lot of those books to be like a touch simplistic and a touch repetitive. I tend to be a little bit more systematic and like want more detail and understanding. And I think a lot of that has been lost with like the explosion of mindfulness. So like mindfulness is like, this is also in Dr. K's guides. We'll sort of contextualize where mindfulness belongs in the tradition of meditation. Mindfulness sort of offers 5% of what I think like the meditative traditions offer. Someone's asking, I've heard of spiritual reasons to live in poverty too, though. So I don't know if this is like okay, so we're going to do a little bit of lore, all right? So this story maybe is top of mind because I just shared it this morning in said group. But so when I tried to become a monk at the age of 21, my teachers were like, they didn't tell me this at that time, but they said, go back, finish your studies, get a doctoral degree, and we'll take you if you still want to do it when you're 30. And I didn't understand this, but like, you guys understand that like becoming a monk is about renunciation, right? So you like give up your life. At the age of 21, I had less than a 2.0 GPA, was on academic probation, had a net worth of $0, and had never been in a relationship, had never like accomplished anything. I had nothing to give up. My life was like completely empty. There's nothing to renounce. It was escapism. Right? It's like this life is like, I'm not giving anything up. I'm running away from a pile of crap that is my life. And so they were smart because they realized like you're not going to make it unless you give something up. Like becoming a monk is about giving up stuff. It's about renunciating, right? Like it's like renouncing stuff. So in order to renounce something, you have to have something. So like, we'll take you, like once you succeed in the material world. So my teacher told me, he's like, be as successful as you can in the material world. And when you reach the height of success in the material world, then give it up, and then we'll take you. So like, win the trophy, and then quit the tournament before you get your prize. That's the road of renunciation. So when we kind of say that, like people like, so someone was asking about, isn't there poverty through spirituality? Like, yes, there is, but I think it's grossly misunderstood and tends to be like really, really abused. So I want y'all to understand this. When someone like a monk, like a real monk, like someone who understands this stuff, the reason that they don't wear a fancy watch is not because avoiding a fancy watch makes you spiritually strong. It's the other way around. It's the spiritual strength that allows them to recognize that, like, whether you wear a watch or you don't wear a watch, it doesn't mean anything. Right? It's detachment from the thing. So we see this a lot, like especially like in the Indian and Hindu community. Like a lot of people will fast because they think, I mean, fasting can be healthy and can be a spiritual practice. But I think a lot of times they'll like look at the way that monks eat and they're like, wow, like you see how that monk doesn't indulge in anything. If I don't indulge in things, I will become spiritual too. Monkey see, monkey do, I will get spirituality too. But they've got it backwards. It's the renunciation and detachment of the monk that allows them to eat whatever without a problem. And so like I can eat like rice and dal every day because it's all the same to me. It's the detachment that allows me to live a simple life. It's not forcibly living a simple life that will create the spirituality. So you'll see a lot of people who will be these like false spirituality, egotistic people. And I've seen them all the time, right? They're like these people who like, I'm not going to live a material life. Like I'm going to be above that crap. I'm going to deprive myself of all of the materialism because I'm going to be a spiritual person. So much ego. It's all ego. Completely misses the point. I'm going to be better than that. That's ego. You're not doing anything. You're just confusing yourself. Right? Like it's like, bro, you're like completely missing the point. The desire to not want material things should come naturally as a consequence of your spiritual practice. That's been my experience. Like sometimes people will be confused by how I dress, and I'm not like dressing to advertise my spirituality. I just genuinely don't care. Like, why do I care about, sometimes I'll dress nice because I recognize that I'm a human and I have to play by the rules of the humans. So, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back when I like worked in an office, I would stream in a suit. And it's like, why do you stream? Like, I don't need to stream in a suit anymore. I don't. The thought crosses my mind. It's like maybe every now and then I should wear a suit. I was thinking about streaming in a suit actually recently. More just because I was like, I should use this article of clothing that I spent some money on. But understand that spirituality is like, it's a little bit backwards, right? So, and there is value to fasting for the sake of gaining spirituality. There's definitely value to that, but it's not quite what I see the way most people do it, which is like, this is what spiritual people do, so I'm going to do that thing to become more spiritual. Whereas those behaviors are the consequence of an internal change. That's what they don't understand. And so then they walk the walk, and then they think that like, that's sufficient. But spirituality isn't about outward behaviors, it's about internal stuff. It's like, you can be in the world or not in the world, and you can be a monk either way. Is the waking up app an okay way to get into meditation? Sure, I think it's an okay way to get into meditation. But here's the problem with the apps. The apps don't have in-depth instruction. So if you look at most meditation apps, what they actually will do is give you a variety of techniques to keep the curiosity of the mind engaged. Right? They say like, okay, like today we're going to do this kind of visualization. Today we're going to do that visualization. Because like the monkey mind that we have like needs novelty to continue to do something. Whereas like if you want to do real meditation, like I've been doing the same damn meditation practice for 17 years. And that's when it really starts to work. I encourage you to just think about anything else that you like build a skill in. Right? It's like today I'm going to write and today I'm going to paint, or tomorrow I'm going to paint and the next day I'm going to play music. Like there's value to that. Sure. Like you're sort of artistically doing a bunch of stuff. But I mean, I think that there's a lot of power to doing the same meditation practice, which is the right meditation practice for you over a long period of time. And generally speaking, when you look at, people who are very accomplished meditators, they didn't get that way through an app. They like I've never heard of anyone becoming enlightened through an app. It generally tends to be like a dedicated, focused spiritual practice, like taught by a real teacher. But I think apps are a great introduction. I think they're a great way to like anchor some degree of practice. But I just don't think they're that in depth. So it's a good introduction.